was close. Welcome back to the Third and Long Weekly Recap, the show where we talk fantasy football. Today we'll be going over the winners from the past week, share some words from our biggest loser about his loss. We'll take a look at the team's benches in a segment called Bench Warmers. Then we'll talk games from this past weekend, from Thursday night's Slugfest to Monday night's doubleheader. From there we'll go over injuries that could be impacting week 3, and finally talk some matchups in both the NFL and the league. Congrats to our winners, the Goodell Days. Gum Soup, Cleveland Flex Offenders, Team Ricardo, who didn't buckle under the pressure, Coronado Bridge Top Bun Burger, the seasoned vet not letting new blood hand him an L, and Juan More Time. Good job to all of you. Now let's move into This week, the Cleveland Flex Offenders were able to pass the baton of biggest loser to unsolicited Dak picks, who put up only 79.5 points. A quiet game for Tom Brady, Cole Kmet putting up a goose egg, and Miami's defense allowing a lot of points and a lot of yards against them, giving them a -8, led themselves to his loss. I reached out for comment, and he had this to say. Some words for the community about this week's performance. You know, we made some coaching mistakes, left some points out there, had some players wake up and choose to channel their inner preteen dance coach, while others really shined out there by breaking double digits. Yet another solid showing from Kmet. You really can't ask for more than a 0. Brady follows up with a real onslaught of 13 points in week 1 by a mighty 9 in week 2. Shout out to Mike Evans for hurting the defense more than Brady. Rounding out my dominant week is CMC. Just a beast. It's hard to catch all 3 of those passes and only get 60 yards offense. Attaboy. We're going to hit the drawing board and reassess. Might play fantasy hockey to actually see some points scored. Who knows? I may be Dak picks, but I ain't Trey Lance. My season ain't over. I shall rise like a phoenix. Call me Cooper Rush. Wow. This is definitely one of those times where you'd see a fantasy manager reach out to players and ask why they hurt them. Nothing left but to wait and see if he can follow in Flex Offender's footsteps and hand the baton out to his next opponent, which happens to be me in this case. So I'm going to be doing everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, with 3 position on Dak picks teams putting up more than ideal performances, let's take a look around the league at players who should have been played in a segment called... Starting things off, we have Tampa Bay defense. The Browns defense was picked over them in a starting lineup with their matchup against the Jets being looked at as easy points. They put up a 0. Tampa Bay's defense ended up putting up 25. Talk about misjudgment. Curtis Samuel sat holding 18.5 points, who could have replaced Melvin Gordon in the team's lineup. Tua, who was left on the bench with 38 points, while Derek Carr was given the start, putting up a reasonable 18. No one expected Garrett Wilson to go off like he did, hauling in 2 touchdowns, helping his total of 26 points. Could have been a great flex play for the week. Finally, Amari Cooper bounced back from week 1, scoring once and receiving for over 100 yards. Those 20.5 points could have been some help in a flex spot. Moving into our NFL recap. Week 2 started off with the Chargers and Chiefs bringing us some Thursday night action, where we saw Justin Herbert take some hits. The Chiefs took the close win, but the Chargers might have lost a little more, with it being reported that Herbert is suffering from some fractured rib cartilage. While it won't put him out, we have to see how much he can play through the pain. Then we had the Jets pulling off what can only be considered a miracle, which caused some fans to lose their shit.
Receipts, motherfucker! Fucking receipts!
A 66-yard bomb, followed by a successful onside kick, and a final pass to Garrett Wilson led the team to a win. Next, T-Law and the Jacks shut out the Colts, winning 24-0. Lawrence's stats for the game were quite impressive. 25 for 30 for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns, really showing why he was last year's #1 draft pick. Could this be the season we see T-Law break out? And what about the other QBs from his class? Let's take a look in a segment called... After Lawrence was taken in the 1 spot, we had that followed by Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. Trey Lance was taken in the 10th with Mac Jones 4 picks later. Then we rounded things out with Kyle Trask, Davis Mills, and Kellen Mond. So, starting with the latter bunch, Mond was picked up by the Browns after he was dropped by the Vikings to serve as their 3rd QB on their depth chart as they wait for Watson to serve out his suspension. Davis Mills has started his season 0-1-1. Now, while he looked pretty alright in his opening time with the Colts throwing for 2 touchdowns, his week 2 loss against Denver left much to be desired. Now, we won't be seeing much of Kyle Trask with Brady still holding the reins in Tampa Bay, so one would hope that he's sitting on the sidelines taking some notes if he ever wants that QB1 job in the future. As for two of the top QBs taken, injuries have stopped their development. We wait for Zach Wilson to come back as early as week 4 for the Jets, but the Niners just lost Trey Lance. So that hurts not only the Niners, but his job at learning how to be a QB in the NFL. Now, on the other side of things, we have Justin Fields and Mac Jones starting their seasons 1-1. Fields started his season with a win at the Downpour at Soldier Field, while Mac took his win just sneaking past a Steelers team that didn't have TJ Watt in defense. Back to our NFL recap. We had Tua lead a resurgence in Baltimore to win 42-38. Both QBs showed out for a combined 10 touchdowns. Dolphins fans sure hope they can carry that momentum into week 3, while Ravens fans can't be upset with Lamar Jackson as he's doing it in the air and on the ground. Another comeback took place in Vegas as Kyler Murray took on a lot of responsibility in the later parts of the game, doing quite a bit of rushing, not only to lengthen plays, but getting himself a rushing touchdown. The Cardinals won in overtime. Monday brought us a pseudo doubleheader as we saw Titans take on the Bills and Vikings take on the Eagles. Now, is there any stopping the Bills? Or should we just go ahead and give him the Lombardi Trophy? Josh Allen is making a very early argument for MVP, going 26 for 38, 317 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Now, on the other side of things, their defense had 2 sacks and 2 interceptions. I mean, Derrick Henry, who? And their defense, if their defense can continue to neutralize teams' weapons, while Allen throws touchdowns like he is, we can safely bet they'll secure a Super Bowl spot. Now, in our other Monday night matchup, the Jet got grounded while the Eagles soared. The Eagles' defense were able to neutralize Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, a duo that saw 2 touchdowns in week 1. Now, I don't expect that Jefferson is always going to be held under 50 receiving yards, but this does show that teams are looking at him as a threat. On the other side of things, Hurts is showing how mobile he is, scoring 2 rushing touchdowns and throwing for another. Week 3 has them traveling to Maryland to face the Commanders. Will they continue soaring, or does Washington clip their wings? Week 2 brought us another big hit for the QB position, while some skilled players left their respective games. Quarterback Trey Lance is out for the season with a fractured ankle. The surgery he underwent was successful, so the team announced that they expect him to be back and healthy for the 2023 campaign. Now, James Conner left his game with an ankle injury. Thankfully for Conner holders and Cardinals, the injury doesn't seem to be that serious. That being said, it will be an injury to monitor throughout the week, and perhaps you should have a player ready just in case to fill that spot on your roster. Wide receiver Devin Duvernay suffered a concussion after a 16-yard completion has entered the NFL's concussion protocol. No telling as of yet if he'll be ready for week 3, so monitor that if he's a player that you're looking to pick up. Tight end Drew Sample took a hit before the Bengals even saw the field this past weekend, as he picked up a knee injury during practice that should sideline him for the next couple of weeks. Russell Wilson lost a weapon in the form of Jerry Jeudy, who exited the game with a shoulder injury. X-rays have come back negative, but the wide receiver will be considered day-to-day, and the status for week 3 to be determined. The Cowboys, off their win, lost tight end Dalton Schultz to a knee sprain, with no more concern being raised thanks to a negative MRI. No telling as it stands if he'll be suiting up for their next matchup on Monday night. Looking ahead to week 3, we have some great matchups in both the NFL and in fantasy. Starting with the NFL, we will see a great matchup between the Bills and Dolphins. Now, this can make a great case for either side. If the Bills win, they continue to solidify their place in the league, while the Dolphins will chase that upset and make their presence known. We will also see if Patrick Mahomes can one-up Trevor Lawrence as he takes on the Colts, a team that shows no signs of life right now. A great young QB face-off as the Chargers will host the Jags. Now, can Lawrence handle the pressure that is the Chargers defense, or will he be struck down and Herbert continue to show that he is one for the future? And lastly, we'll see the 2 oldest quarterbacks in the league face off as last year's MVP Aaron Rodgers and the Packers travel to Tampa to face defending Super Bowl champs Tom Brady and the Bucs. As for the Third and Long Fantasy League, we have 2 games to watch as there are 2 teams looking to stay undefeated. We have Gum Soup taking on the Cleveland Flex Offenders. Gum Soup will hope that the Flex Offenders give another Biggest Loser performance, while the Offenders look to secure back-to-back wins. Then we have Team Mercado beating newcomer Oh Highmark. Oh Highmark wasn't able to defeat the seasoned vet Coronado Bridge Top Bunburger, but will hope to deliver a loss to Team Mercado, a team that is led by quarterback Lamar Jackson and has also put up the most points in the league. As we look ahead to week 3, I think it's fair to say that some NFL teams are finding the rhythm, while other teams are becoming more unpredictable with how they spread the ball. All that having an impact with how we set up our lineups and what players we're looking at to trade for. But that'll be it for the weekly recap. Be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying the NFL and Fantasy League content, and leave a comment with a hot take that you have for week 3. Mine is that Jonathan Taylor will finally wake up and the Colts upset the Chiefs. For the Third and Long Dynasty League, this is your commissioner, signing off.